Finally working on the olds again. We've had some pretty crazy weather around here last week and a half. Had some crazy wind and rain and just hasn't been very good. I removed the inner door panel off of this door. And took the glass out, all the door handles are out, so this door is pretty well done. Gonna weld it shut later on. That'll probably be one of the final steps though. So I got the door panel sitting there. The glass over here. I'm going to get started on the passenger side. So pretty much take the panel off. There's 4 screws on the bottom. So we got 2 on this side and 2 on the inner side. Take those 4 screws out, and then there's 2 screws holding the armrest on, just underneath. Those come out. Then we'll have to take the door handle off and the window crank. There's 2 clips holding them on. They're kind of a pain to get at. It's just a clip that looks like this. And then this is what the inside of the crank would look like. And the clips are just sitting on there, and you pull them off. I used a Allen wrench to get in there and a needle nose plier to pull it off. Wasn't too terribly bad. It took me a while to figure out a technique for it though. So that's what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to take the inner door panel off. Alright, so I finally got that door panel off. It's obviously been removed before and it wasn't done the right way, so all the clips were bent. So I tried to save them, but they were just way too bent, so there was no way I could save them. So pulled out the hammer and took a few swings at it, and off they went. So the parts are still good on the other car anyway, so I don't necessarily need these ones. But next step's gonna be taking all these bolts off. They're all 7/16. Take all that hardware out of there, and then that'll take out the mechanism, and then I'll be able to get the glass out of there. So that's what I'm gonna do next. Okay, so I took all the bolts out. I also took the door latch out too. Basically 3 Phillips head screws holding those in. Took that out. Got all the bolts out of here. Pulled the glass out. And how I did that is basically grab the top of the glass and just pull it straight up, and it'll be attached to these rollers here. And once you get it up far enough that all the glass is exposed, this is still attached to the bottom, just grab the glass and it'll slide right off the rollers. So here it sits now. This is where the rollers would be in. And once you pull it up far enough, it'll just slide right out. So I'm just going to take a screwdriver and just lightly pry on it here where this rubber seal is, and then that'll get the rest of the mechanism off of there, and then I'll just be left with the glass, which is what I'm looking for. The mechanism's already pretty well shot, because having a look at it, it's pretty bent up in there, so I don't think there's going to be any saving it, so I'm just going to work on getting the rest of it out of there. This chrome strip right here is the top piece that holds the door panel in place. So when I took the 4 screws out of the bottom, then once they were loose, got the door handle and the window crank off, and then it basically just slides straight down. And then this is just the piece that's holding it on top, so it's just Phillips head screws again holding that on. So I'll get that off, I'll get the rest of the mechanism out of the door, and then I guess the final step will be just taking the outer door handle off, which is pretty much just 2 bolts on the inside of the door, so I'll have to get the rest of the mechanisms out of there so I have room. And I'll get a ratchet in there, and then I'll get those 2 bolts out, and then the door handle's off. Alright, so all the mechanisms are out of there. I got the door handle off, all the chrome stripped off, so this door is pretty well done. what I'm going to do is the metal rods that came on the mechanisms, I'm going to save those, and then they'll help me later on when I'm welding the doors. I can just tack one end there and one end down here, and that'll make filling in this area with weld a lot easier. And then what I'm thinking I'm going to do is this piece here, take a hammer to it and bend it down, and then it'll just bend right over top of this piece of the door here. And then, I don't know, maybe weld that down yet too. I don't know if that's necessary, but at least it'll be out of the way and it'll keep the door closed anyway. And then later on run a metal rod down here too and do a bit of welding. The doors have to be 20% welded for the Derby, so it's not too terribly much welding, so do that later on. That'll be one of the final steps. So I kind of changed my mind about what I'm going to do with the doors on this one and the other car instead of swapping them out, because really the only problem on the other car is just the one bottom hinge. Basically, when the other owner was driving it out of his garage, he had the door open and it caught and bent it forward, which completely messed up this hinge here, which is causing it to close a lot rougher than it should. So I think instead of swapping all the doors out as well as the trunk, just so that the keys match, I'm just going to swap out this hinge. It'll be a lot less work in the long run, since this door is in a lot better shape on the inside. Basically this one's just missing the door handle. I have it sitting in the trunk, so I think all I need to do is just replace the clip for the handle, so that'll be an easy fix. And then a lot less work than swapping everything over at once. I think that's going to be the next job to tackle. I gotta wait for a nicer day though, because it keeps raining off and on today, so I don't want to take the door off of that car and have it get rained on, so we'll save that for another day.